third day from in front of the Artichon Conference Center located on the east coast of Demerara on the railway embankment to bring you updates on the national recount process ongoing here. The recount process for the third day has not yet started. It is expected to start in just an hour, and we're hopeful for a timely start to this morning's process. As you can see, there are persons now entering the conference center. There is heightened security check for persons that are going into the conference center, so many persons have lined up here 1 hour before the scheduled time for the start of the process so that they can get through the security checks and be able to be at the recount stations on time. There are 10 recount stations with 2 designated for regions 1, 2 for region 2, 3 for region 3, and 3 for region 4. So far, those recount stations would have counted 65 ballot boxes out of the 2,339 boxes that they're supposed to count for this expected 25 days process. They would have counted 25 boxes on the first day and 40 boxes on, that was Thursday, that was yesterday. They've counted 45 boxes yesterday, and it is expected that this would even further increase today, as many parties would have expressed concerns that if they continue at a slow pace, then the 25 days would have to be extended, and they're hopeful that this will not have to be the case. In some of the boxes, there are 100 and something or 200 and something voters, but in others there are less than 100. In some cases, in region 1, for example, you would find boxes with just less than 20 persons voting at one polling station. However, the boxes would take, because of that actually, the boxes will take varying times to count the ballots and to go through the necessary documentation that are contained within the boxes. And some boxes would have taken between 1 to 2 hours, while some would have taken over 3 hours to count. There was at least one instance we know of where there had to be a recheck of the process at least 3 times to ensure that the numbers are actually what they got at the end of the process. Eventually, it matched up with the original SOPs which was used on elections day. It is over 2 months since the elections process was completed, and the recount process just started on Wednesday. The commission on Thursday met and decided, after they had an issue with the tabulation process, whether this will be done at the end of each district or at the end of each day. And the commission on Thursday met and decided that they will do the tabulation process continuously at the end of each day. So they have designated 90 minutes at the end of each day, just before the recount end at 7 p.m. to decide to do the tabulation process during that period of time. According to the PRO, for Wednesday and Thursday, those boxes have not yet been completed, the tabulation process. So as that gets on the way again this morning, simultaneously with the recount, she will be providing an update to us on how that process goes. This 65 boxes that have been counted so far is just 3% of the overall 2,339 ballot boxes which have to be counted. This morning we have Mr. Lennox Truman from the Liberty and Justice Party, who will tell us something about his expectations for today's process. Good morning, Mr. Truman.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Can you tell me a little bit about what you expect today going forward?
Well, we expect a little bit of improvement. I think from day one it was a bit chaotic. Got a bit more streamlined yesterday. We were anticipating that the Secretariat would take lessons learned from days 1 and 2 and start implementing some of those on day 3. So we're expecting that things are going to start going along a bit better. As the issues come up, we are going to continuously try to address them with GECOM so we don't permit it to fester and to grow to a point where we cannot correct it. We're also anticipating the same shenanigans from the PNC camp that, on day 1 they tried to derail the count simultaneously in 3 separate counting rooms. Yesterday we saw the same thing, and we're anticipating nothing different from them. It's going to go the same way again today. At least that's our expectation from that camp. Yesterday we, at least from the Liberty and Justice Party team, I was told that a member of the PNC side went into the room with a list of people whose names might have been struck off, and she asked for them, and obviously none of those names were on the list, as having voted. I think they wanted pretty much pull the same stunt all over again.
What about the other major political party? Any issues from their side?
At this point, I would tell you that the rest of the political parties, all but obviously the PNC side, everyone is quite content with the way everything is going. There are very, very minor objections. Obviously, when you're going through this process, you have some very, very minor corrections, minor anomalies. But those things, you have to expect it. When you've got a voting population of roughly 600,000, you've got voters who voted close to 480,000, there are going to be anomalies. And trying to address those, I think we are doing a fantastic job thus far. If there's one thing I want to say, and I've noticed this from day one and day two, and I think this morning we're going to see the same thing again. And not that I have to stand in defense of the People's Progressive Party, they've got their own machinery to do that. But what I will say is I have noticed a lot of rumblings from the PNC or APNUAFC's camp, as some people may want to call it, about SOPs being changed. But yet, to date, we as a population have not seen a single SOP from the PNC's camp. And for them to go and try to spread yesterday, James Bond attempted to undermine the process and stating that there is secretive meeting. We were in there. And it is good that all of the stakeholders are present to witness the shenanigans, and the CARICOM team is also there.
We would have seen some concerns raised on Wednesday. Did you see those same concerns coming up back on Thursday, or they were adequately addressed and persons were adequately briefed to avoid the same?
What concerns are you talking about?
Concerns raised by party agents that were addressed by the GECOM supervisor for that recount station.
But once again, what specifically, if I may ask?
Specifically in terms of the processes that you're going through, in terms of the envelopes, in terms of counterfoils and those sort of things.
I see. Well, those, I think thus far GECOM has done a pretty good job at addressing those. There was the issue, at least that I have heard, I have not seen, I have not been in that station, about the counterfoil, or I think the voters book or something of that sort missing from Region 2. That is not something that has made it to me yet from our agents at those stations. They have not mentioned it. So I would assume that GECOM has all of those things in full control.
Okay. And on Wednesday they would have completed 25 boxes, and on Thursday 40. Do you expect that to increase today?
As I stated earlier, as the machinery starts to get well on its way working, we're hopeful that we could start accelerating this process. Of course, at the discretion of GECOM, we are going to have to once again see how well they respond to recommendations, and hopefully the recommendations that we have to offer, just shaving critical seconds off of each ballot, could potentially cut your time for this recount in half. And that is something we are cognizant of. A lot of the other political parties are very, very cognizant of that. It is now, can we bring it to GECOM, and are they willing to take our recommendations on board? And we're going to continue to press the process. We're going to continue to do what we were meant to do, which is to protect the franchise and ensure that everyone is counted.
Okay, and finally for me, there was an issue with the poll book. Is it from Region 1? Are they here as yet today or yesterday?
And that is an issue that I had referred to earlier. I can't say that has been brought to my attention yet. We are going to have a briefing this morning before we start, and that is completely within the remit of GECOM. That has nothing to do with a political party. That was a GECOM paid employee that undertook that exercise, and we are hopeful that GECOM can address it.
All right, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
So that was Mr. Lennox Schumann from the Liberty and Justice Party. He is the presidential candidate for that party, but the Liberty and Justice Party merged their list with a new and united Guyana and the New Movement. Those three parties, while they contested the elections separately, after the recount is done and after the electoral process has ended, their votes will be combined, and that will be used to determine whether they have any seat in the National Assembly. Those three parties would have taken a historic step that was never done before. So after the recount, persons will be able to see better how that process works. One of the party representatives would have told the newsroom in the past that they're looking to rotate, if they do get a seat in the National Assembly, they're looking to rotate that person that they would have there between the three parties. So one person will serve for a year and a half, or depending on the percentage of votes that party brought to this agreement. The poll books that he was talking about earlier, that is from Region 1, where the returning officer would not have returned those books to Georgetown. In fact, he told, when asked on Wednesday when the issue came up, he said that he returned them to the GECOM Mabaruma office and that he's no longer on job. Those books, which contained various information relating to the signatures of the presiding officers and agents, and also the persons who would have voted in an area where they're working but not residing, those persons' certificate of employment would also be in that poll book. We're going to continue bringing you coverage from in front of the Artichon Conference Center for this morning as the recount gets on the way. It's not time for it to start. We have just about 35 minutes before the recount starts, and according to Mr. Schumann, there is also a short briefing just before that process commenced today. So far, over the past 2 days, the Guyana Elections Commission would have counted 65 boxes out of the 2,339, which is just 3% of that amount. And most persons are hoping that the pace would continue to increase, because on Wednesday, 25 boxes were counted, on Thursday, 40, and we're hoping that today we'll have a lot more boxes are being counted to continue the process in an expeditious manner. So we have with us here Ms. Rhonda Lamb from the Citizenship Initiative. She's the presidential candidate of that party which contested these elections for the first time, and she'll share her view on the past 2 days of the recount process, where 65 boxes were counted, and looking forward to today and possibly the weekend, what is expected.
Morning. So, as you know, that many boxes counted. Not all of them have been tabulated because yesterday afternoon, each SOR is accompanied by an observation report. And so a number of political parties would have raised issues with persons who they feel have migrated or died, and they're seeking clarity to find out whether those persons voted or not. And so those would have been recorded. We found instances, not anything major, but there were instances of spoiled votes being counted as valid votes. In one box I saw there was a mix-up. The vote was for another party, but it was in the second party's envelope. So there were some minor things that could be corrected. For the most part, however, we've not seen instances whereby we could scream and shout that the process is not transparent. GECOM has made every effort, it seems, to ensure that the process is, all of the stakeholders can see the votes, the 6-digit code at the back and the front, and that, of course, is being shown to the public as well. However, the issue yesterday was with tabulation. The day before, when we left, we'd done 7 boxes for Region 1. And the idea was that we would continue with the additional boxes yesterday morning. When we queried that yesterday, we were told that they were awaiting a process from the commissioners and instructions from the CEO. And so we waited for an entire day. It wasn't until later in the afternoon when the CEO came in to say that the tabulation process, it was decided by the commission and the chair that process would go every day from 5 to 6:30. And the observation reports would be shown as well in the process so that persons could see. Now, we all have copies of the observation reports along with the SORs and along with what is called a ballot box checklist. So GECOM, for this morning, I'm expecting a similar process to unveil. New boxes will come out. They will be intricately examined. And then all of these documents will be prepared for tabulation later this evening. I'm hoping at some point that the tabulation process catches up with the box count, so that at the end of the day, every single box that has been counted would have been tabulated.
So it's only that 90 minutes in the afternoon that is set aside for tabulation.
Correct.
So the boxes from, say, yesterday that haven't so far been tabulated, they are going to await that process until this afternoon.
Correct.
Continue from where they left off.
They left off yesterday. And up to yesterday afternoon, we had completed Region 1, all of the boxes that had been tabulated along with the observation reports. We have a few more from Region 2 to complete. But regions 3 and 4, those boxes have not been tabulated as yet.
Okay, can you remember offhand how many boxes were completed for Region 1?
I think about 10 or 12, but don't quote me exactly on that. That's what I'm remembering right now, but I'm sure it's a little more because that would have been tabulated, not counted, not tabulated. So I might be mixing up the numbers.
Okay. And then as you move on to the tabulation process, I know your party would have been one that said that this should be a continuous one instead of waiting until the entire district is completed. So at the end of the entire recount process, are we going to start back from the start of tabulation, or are we going to use these numbers?
No, as far as I'm aware, because I did ask that question yesterday, we would continue the process until it was done. And then at the end of the district, that would be, the final figures would be printed out onto a sheet, and all of the parties would be given an opportunity to sign off as those being verified results, and GECOM would issue a certificate of authenticity in that sense, and each party would, each stakeholder, would have a copy of that.
All right. Thank you very much. That was Ms. Rhonda Lamb from the Citizenship Initiative, one of the party which contested these elections. These elections were contested by 11 political parties for the first time in a while. We now speak to Ms. Simona Brooms from A Partnership for National Unity, Alliance with Change.
So we're on day 3. Just give us your thoughts or expectations for today.
Well, I think as we open more boxes, I expect that more is going to come out. I expect also the process to be moving even better because we're getting used to it. Bear in mind that not every day you go to a station, it's the same staff there or sometimes the same representative. So while the day 3 is counting down, sometimes it's new. So I think after the first week or two, you could build a better momentum. So I expect today maybe we can be able to do more boxes, and that depends on the box that they bring out because it is very. Sometimes you have a box you could just go for quickly, but sometimes you have a box have hundreds in it. So as it relates to timing and all of that, but in all, we're moving. We're not stalled, which is a fantastic thing. And so once the process keep moving, we know that we're walking into the direction of the line to the end. I'm committed. We are committed to the process as a coalition to stick with it to the end, to allow for GECOM to do their work, to respect the process. They have gazetted their order. We all saw the order. It was agreed on. What you like or what you don't like, GECOM is in control of this process. And you heard it from no other person than His Excellency. We will allow for GECOM to do the work. So I am here as an agent. As you can see, I have my badge as an agent representing the coalition. We are confident, we are humble, and we are looking.
Right, so you're saying that your party is okay with the decision made yesterday by the chairman in terms of the tabulation being done daily?
Well, the tabulation was agreed before that the tabulation will be done. I thought they had a conversation maybe at the end of every region, but the chairman make a decision that the tabulation will be done daily at the end of the day. That's the chairman's decision. Like I said, we will have to work with what GECOM is in control of this process. So if the chairman said we can count to the end, we can tabulate to the end of the day, we tabulate to the end of the day. We don't have any problem. They say, listen, we're going to show everything out there, what was agreed upon, what we all signed off to. We're going to put it out there for transparency. All have been asking GECOM to be transparent. And so why would now we want them to hold back anything? Listen, just put it out. None of us know what is going there. I just said before, we're starting this where everyone is at the same line. Nobody got any advantage over anybody in this. It's what is in the box. is what we are going through. You can't get better than this.
The coalition have no
Right?
hidden agenda.
For your recount station, have you noticed any discrepancies, like major discrepancies over the past 2 days?
Well, in my box that I was interchanging, I did with two boxes. The two boxes I dealt with. The concern that I had, it was brought to GECOM. GECOM took some time, but they got the documents. They came, they clarified it. So as to me personally, the queries and the concern that I've raised, it was clarified. They have certain things that GECOM cannot do immediately, so they have their investigation. But bear in mind that everything or concern or objection that is raised at the end of the process, GECOM will pronounce on it to say, listen, this is what we find, this is credible or this is not credible. So at this time, when you go through the station, as to keep the process moving, they have the supervisors, and in some cases, Mr. Lowenfield himself. Of course, you know, the chairwoman, she's on the ground, moving through every station. You don't even have to look for her. She's there if you feel like something is not right. She's accessible. So I think that everything is fine.
Yesterday morning, you would have said that you hope that the GECOM staff, since they're rotating, will be briefed on issues from the previous day so that there will be recurring problems. They will be able to move the process. Did you see the same issues being raised? What was raised Wednesday, raised again on Thursday? Minor issues.
Yesterday? Well, like I said, yesterday I dealt with one box.
Oh.
In there, I had a replacement. I was doing other duties. I said from day one, I moved around whenever called out, whenever. So I'm not stationed at any one place at any one time. But the box that I dealt with yesterday, like I said, we had no qualms with it. There was a certificate because the poll books and so on is not in the box. I asked. They called the supervisor. The supervisor went, got the book, showed all, asked everyone who wants to see it, that the certificate was there, who it was signed by. You actually saw the certificate and what the note that was made in the poll book. Yeah? So, again, I really believe that GECOM is trying their utmost best to bring what all is looking forward for. That's credible result. There's no all the information there is for all. At the end of it, you have to sign. If, for example, you think that something was mentioned that is now written, then they take it back, they adjust it, and bring it back to you for you to sign. So there's no qualms in there as to the intention and so on of GECOM at this time. So today I expect that we get better and better. I said that the eyes of the eagle is on the recount, and that is why we are here. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Allow me, please, to thank the police officer and yourself and everyone every day. I mean, you're here, all of us are here. The police is doing a fantastic job. I want to shout out and salute Maxine Graham, who is here herself, ensuring that, you know, the order and the calmness and the respect. If something happens, you see them moving swiftly in a professional manner. And so I really want to thank them for an excellent job.
And the media. And the media.
That was Ms. Simona Brooms, a political agent from the APNU-AFC coalition. As she would have noted, the tabulation process has been agreed, so that the commission has agreed that the tabulation process will go on every afternoon for 90 minutes. So far, we would have learned that the tabulation process for Region 1 was completed. However, they're still to complete the tabulation process for the other regions. Over the past 2 days, the commission would have counted 65 boxes out of the 2,339 boxes that are to be counted following the March 2nd elections. On Wednesday, there were 25 boxes counted, and on Thursday, there were 40. For the 40, 9 were from Region 1, 10 from Region 2, 9 from Region 3, and 12 from Region 4. As you know, there are 4 regions that are being counted simultaneously, with 10 workstations, 2 designated to Regions 1, 2 to Region 2, 3 to Region 3, and 3 to Region 4. At the end of whichever district finishes first, then those recount stations will start Region 5 ballot boxes. The counts for Region 4 are basically going on for a longer period because of the amount of persons that would have voted in those boxes compared to Region 1 per se, where there are villages with just less than 20 persons who would have voted. We would have spoken to some of the party officials as they're entering the conference center for the third day of the recount, and one thing for sure is what they're all hoping for is for the process to pick up pace and for everything to be finished within 25 days, so there'll be no need for an extension. The 65 boxes that were counted so far is just 3% of the overall total. However, we're hoping that today more will be finished as the persons, both the party agents and the GECOM staff, be more in tune with the processes and based on the practice that they would have had over the past 2 days. According to the recount order for the process, the recount goes from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and during that time they will be counting the votes, and then from 5 to 6:30 in the afternoon, as was agreed yesterday, the tabulation process will go on. The Commission has also agreed in that recount order. You can see that the process will continue through the weekend and even on holidays to ensure that there is an expeditious end to the process. We continue to bring you updates from the ADHERE Conference Center as the day progresses.